Hello Vols, welcome to week 3 of our bathtub swim lesson and water safety series. In this week's water safety topic, we will be going over lake safety. Lake safety can get a little bit tricky when the water is brown and where boats of all sizes, shapes, and speeds share the water with us. In this week's bathtub swim lesson, we will be taking facial submersion and breath control to the next level with bobbing to safety as well as the vital skill of being able to pull oneself out of the water. Let's take this to the lake where it's easy to make things fun. Again, we are going to get started with our water safety topic, lake and boat safety. When it comes to lake safety, you don't just have to be aware of the water. You also need to understand the safety around life jackets, boats, swim areas, and the different water sports. We are going to start with life jacket basics. Most importantly, they need to be Coast Guard approved and the right size and style for the wearer. Life jackets are sized based on the wearer's age and weight. Different styles can be activity specific, but serve the same personal flotation device purpose. In the state of Tennessee, when on a boat, acceptable flotation devices must meet the following conditions. They must bear the Coast Guard approved seal, they must be in good serviceable condition, they must be an appropriate size for the person who intends to wear it, wearable PDFs must be readily accessible on the boat, throwable devices must be immediately available for use as well. Please check your own state regulations if you're not from Tennessee. This leads to more specifics on boat safety. This information and more can be found on the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency website. I will be reviewing some of their most important laws and regulations, specifically on boating certificates, life jackets, safe driving, and safety hazards. Please check your state's laws and regulations if you don't live in Tennessee. You first should know the owner of a vessel may be responsible for any injury or damage done by his or her vessel, whether the owner is present on the boat or not. This shall not hold true if the vessel is used without the owner's consent. In order to operate a boat in the state of Tennessee, one needs a TWRA card to operate. There is a safety exam you have to pass in order to operate that boat alone. Persons under 12 years old may not operate a boat unless accompanied by a TWRA card holder over the age of 18, who is in a position to immediately take control of the boat if needed. You must have your TWRA card with you on the boat at all times. I know that we already went over the basics of life jackets, but it is important for you to know that in Tennessee, there's a state and federal flotation device regulation. All boats, including canoes and kayaks, must be equipped with one life jacket for each person on board or for each person being towed. Boats that are 16 feet or longer also must have a throwable PFD for anyone who might go overboard. Next, let's move on to some of the most important things to remember when it comes to driving a boat safely. The first being, never drink and drive, even on a boat. You should also know how to safely operate around buoys, swim areas, and other water sport participants. You should always have a safety flag in order to help you communicate with other boats if you have a swimmer in the water. Always drive responsibly around the lake in the right direction, not weaving in and out of other boats, and observing all idle zones. Please know there are some really high fines in the thousands of dollars for operating a boat unsafely in Tennessee. When driving and swimming at the lake, there are a lot of safety hazards to take into consideration. The first and most obvious being brown water that can be difficult, if not impossible, to see the bottom of. Second, you need to be aware of dust zones near boat engines where carbon monoxide poisoning can be a real problem. Third, because you are outside, the weather, meaning high winds, lightning, rain, hail, and even tornadoes, can make the water unsafe. Fourth, if swimming in the spring or fall, you need to ask yourself, do you need a wetsuit to prevent hypothermia? Fifth, does the lake or river have a current? Any shallow areas or debris like tree limbs? Sixth, you should always be aware of other motorists. And finally, are there any animals that may call the water home? A lot of lakes and rivers have public beach access with swim areas. Always review these areas' specific rules before swimming. These are a few rules to always follow. Never swim alone. Never swim outside of roped-off areas. Be careful around and be aware of currents, wakes, and waves, as these can make swimming more difficult. Children and even some adults who can't swim should always wear a life jacket, even if not in the water, to prevent a potential drowning. This should include on the docks, boats, beaches, and in the water. Like at the pool, never swim under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Don't litter. Leave the waterfront nicer than when you got there. No diving. Remember, feet first time. And finally, you shouldn't bring your pets to the beach unless it is a beach specifically for pet swimming. When it comes to open water swimming, you should never swim alone, and you should always have a spotter in case you get into trouble. Use safety equipment like a neon buoy and swim cap to help make yourself more visible. Do your research and find safe spots to swim during low traffic times and away from hazards. And finally, know the water temperature before swimming so you can wear the appropriate swimwear, like a wetsuit. To wrap up this week's water safety topic, we are going to talk about safety around towing sports, like tubing and skiing. There are a few universal rules you should follow for any towing sport, like inspecting all equipment before use, always having a spotter with a flag. Ensure the spotter and the skier know the hand signals to be able to communicate. All skiers should wear a life jacket. And finally, have a phone on board in case you need to call for help. In this week's bathtub swim lesson, you will see my helpers learn bobbing to safety and exiting the water. For Miss Polly, our 20-month-old parent-child swimmer, we started with bobbing to safety. For her, we spent our time laying a foundation for this skill through an assisted crab walk crawl and an assisted bunny hop. Both of these skills you could easily do in the bathtub as well. When doing her crab walk crawl, Polly had a lot of fun singing the crab walk crawl song. It goes like this: crab walk crawl along the wall, we're gonna crab walk crawl along the wall. Crab walk crawl helps with buoyancy, but it also helps with arm strength, which will come in handy when it comes time for climbing out. When doing bunny hops, Polly did them on different steps. When doing this at home, you could do this while holding their hands so you can see their face, eyes, and mouth. Bunny hops help children learn their body's natural buoyancy and how to trust the life jacket. Like with goggles, I would recommend doing this in a life jacket and then doing it without one, because if they fall in, it won't be with a life jacket on. As an added bonus, Polly did a really good job doing a full bob with facial submersion on the slide. When it comes to climbing out of the water at any age, you should always use elbow, tummy, knee. This uses momentum and body weight when strength isn't always an option. Polly will be doing this well assisted until she is strong enough to do it on her own. Always prompt elbow, tummy, knee. Henley, our slightly older parent-child age swimmer, will be demonstrating options for how to bob and then bob to safety. Henley's bunny hops were done in a baby pool. If you notice, we have her hopping away from us, then turning around and coming back. Gradually, she will be doing this in deeper and deeper water, progressing from doing this to bobbing and blowing bubbles, and then to bobbing with her head fully submerged. Miles and Jane do a really good example of this in a little bit. Finally, Henley does a really great job of bobbing to safety with the life jacket on in a zero-entry lake waterfront. The ultimate goal here is for swimmers to be able to get back to shore, even if they get in over their head and can't really swim yet. Time for Miles, our 3-year-old preschool-age swimmer. For Miles, I thought it was a good idea to show you a pretty full progression. We challenged Miles during his crab walk crawl to try and catch his sister, who was also doing crab walk crawl. We did this in order to get him into deeper water that he sometimes has trouble with. First, you will see Miles do some basic bunny hops. Then you will see him do bobs with his eyes in where he can touch. Finally, you will see Miles do bobs on the wall where he can't touch. He lets go and then grabs the wall again, like if he were to fall in the pool. I'm even showing you Miles do bobs in the lake, getting used to water he can't see the bottom of. Like with Polly, we had Miles climbing out of the water at the lake. Here we had him climbing out of the water where his legs were on unstable ground. He had to pull himself further up as well. We are going to wrap this lesson up once again with Jane, our 6-year-old school-age swimmer. I also had Jane start with crab walk crawl to not only demonstrate for her siblings, but to also give Miles someone to catch. It is good for Jane's arm strength as long as we can keep her interested. For Jane's bob progression, we had her start with bobs on the wall where she couldn't touch, so that when she let go, she had to use her buoyancy and bob motion to get her back to the wall. I then challenged her with a bob from a feet first dive. Eventually, she will progress to a bob like this one from a jump into deeper water. And for a glimpse at what true bobbing to safety looks like, watch Jane bob to safety perfectly in the lake. For Jane's climbing out of the water, she uses elbow, tummy, knee as well. Amazingly, she does it onto a very high platform in the lake where she can't touch. The life jacket here actually makes climbing out much harder for her. Today's bathtub swim lesson safety instruction topic pertains to life jackets. As we went into detail about life jackets during our water safety topic, I will just reiterate a few of the high points. Make sure it is a Coast Guard approved life jacket, and also make sure it fits your child's weight and height. What I really want you to do is make sure that wearing a life jacket is fun for your non-swimmers. I want it so that they don't mind wearing a life jacket. I like to do this with a life jacket relay. Go. Oh, gotta get it zipped, gotta get it zipped. Uh-oh, can you get that last strap? Can you get the last strap? All right, you're gonna go and give Miles a high five, and then he's gonna start putting on his. Go, Miles, go! Go put yours on, put yours on. Go, Miles, go. And Miles, you're gonna go give Henley a high five once you get yours done. Bottom one. Okay. All right, Miles, once you get that buckled, you're gonna go give Henley a high five. All right, Henley, let's get ours on. You're gonna run to Polly. Yeah, good job. You're okay. Ready? Go give Jane a high five. Get Jane a high five. Woo! Well, everyone, that's a wrap on week 3. Join us again next week for floating on our back and for how to help others out of the water without getting in ourselves. As the saying goes, reach or throw, don't go.